Okay, go for it.
So this is the common unity, or this is the birth of the common unity. It's a communal space. In here, we're going to be having workshops, support groups, classes, yoga, dance, movement, whatever we want, really.
And what's your name?
Julia.
Okay.
Julia Paige from Crowning Lotus Doula Services, and also founder of the Common Unity.
How did you come up with common unity?
Because it just made sense. I wanted to bring in the word community, and I needed to find a way to express that, and I actually rolled it around in my head for months. And I was driving down the road, like I often am when I have an epiphany, and I was like, common unity, you know, because I wanted it to be that commonality between you and I. You know, I want to help you meet your needs, and I want you to help me meet mine. And so that's why this is like the, you know, the symbol of the common unity is, you know, I give you a hand up and you give me one too. And it's just helping each other learn how to help each other. I think that's a big part of it, is even knowing how to reach out and feeling safe to reach out and feeling okay to accept help, I think is a big part of it too. Because I think a lot of us need it, but we don't know how to accept it because we feel like if we didn't do it ourselves, then we didn't do it or something. But we all need help.
Because we live in a very individualistic culture, and we're trying to go to a communal-based culture again.
Yes, and so I want to help people transition into that, and I want this to be the living example of what that looks like. So I want this to be a place of sustainability. You know, the bigger vision is obviously, you know, having a garden, having places to teach people about food and about every aspect of life. But here is going to be, this is the baby seed of it all, and so we're just a collective of minds who have goals of making our world and our lives more enriching, whether that be by providing a service, a support group, even just time to connect with other people. So even parties, you know, or whatnot, just as a way to kind of communicate and build those bridges between us all, build a web, essentially, and then strengthen in numbers, and then eventually grow out of this space and get a building that can facilitate so many more dreams and have just spots for literally anything that you can possibly want to do. Anything.
You're what Malcolm Gladwell calls a connector.
I am a connector. That would be very true. I have been known as a connector for years and years. I am in many hubs socially, all over West Michigan. People are always telling me, oh my gosh, you know so-and-so. How do you know so-and-so? You know, and I talk to people, and I'm unafraid, and I am kind of bold, and so people remember me, I guess. But a lot of relationships and connections with other people get built, and I tend to be the hub of that. And I love that. I love introducing two people, and they go and they start this little revolution, and these two people went and did this. And I mean, I've had people meet and get married and have babies, you know, and it's just so cool to be that little link, you know, that was like, hey, here, put these together and put these, you guys should really meet, you know. And I really think that this will be a big part of that, of just kind of teaching people that it's okay to reach out and to get to know somebody that you might not have known. And no matter what, every single person has a common ground. Everybody. I don't care who you are. I think that's why I'm so attracted to working with pregnant women, is because it seems to be such an open field. As soon as a woman is pregnant, everybody feels okay to talk to her. They all kind of go up to her, you know, how are you doing? They want to help her, even with a small child, and especially with women amongst women. It's an instant bridge. Like if you have kids or you're pregnant, any other woman, I don't care how conservative, how liberal, those two women can find a common medium. And I think that's where peace starts, is that common ground. Because no matter what, you and the worst person you can think of on this planet have something in common, whether you like it or not. And if we could just find that in each other, we could find peace, and we could start to understand that, okay, people are different than I am, but that's okay. You know, and none of us are right or wrong. We just are. And we just need to be. And that's okay. Like, just be okay.
You're also a classic social entrepreneur, because you're using your business sensibility to connect the community once again.
Absolutely. Yep. I've always been, you know, when I first got a computer, I think back in, it was like 99 or 2000. So I think I was kind of late in the game, actually. Everybody else had one and I didn't have one yet. But I remember getting on the internet and saying to myself, I could start a revolution with this. I could do anything I wanted with it. I could connect with anybody. I could meet anybody. And that's really what I did. And I started, it was MySpace days back then, and I was active in the groups on there. I was always an artist, out vending and doing different things. And And so, my circle just grew and grew and grew. And now, I mean, it's wonderful because I can just use Facebook, I can use whatever to connect with people and to get the word out about these massive events. I like it too because I feel like we're using like the man's tools against him. So I'm just like, okay, well, we'll use Facebook and we'll start a revolution with that, and we'll do these things. And I think that it's the age of information, and we have the whole thing at our fingertips, and we just need to know how to use it. That's what it all comes down to.
Well, it is the age of information, but you're using information to, I think, tap into mystical knowledge that's always been there.
Absolutely.
And using that mystical knowledge to create relationships. Because I think, as we've already discussed, we might be in the age of information, but we don't have many relationships anymore.
Right.
Because we're all sort of stuck in our little techno bubbles.
Techno
and
bubbles.
So
I like that.
you're using this space to create relationships that are hard to come by.
It is.
Anymore.
And I think that that's the attraction, especially for a lot of other people. I know, there's a lot of people who reach out to me who are new to their business or who are even interested in maybe becoming a doula or doing something like this, and they're like, how do you do that? How do you work your Facebook, or how do you do this and that? And it's just like, you know what, come here and I'll show you, and then they meet all these other people, and it's just providing this platform where we can all share that. It's not this competition. I mean, I don't even know how many times I've met another birth worker or something like that and gotten kind of a weird vibe, like it was competitive. And I'm just like, man, what would I do if everybody in Grand Rapids wanted me to be their doula? Like, I would freak out. There's no way that we need to be that competitive. There's women all over the place who need doulas. We could never get enough of them, in my view. And I think
that's why we need a tribal perspective, not
we need that tribal perspective where we can come together freely and not feel like we're in a competition constantly, because we're not. And if we reach out to other people, they will reach back, and it will just become natural. That's what we need, is for it all to just become natural and very easy, so we can just go with the flow and allow this process to happen. Stop fighting it and just go with it. And like I said, we pull people in. We have our board here, cards, and just different information from the people who work around us. These people don't even all necessarily share the space with us, but we want people to have their resources. We want to connect them to their community. So every time I bring in a client, they're exposed to all of this information, and they can connect with, Danielle, who does massage, or they can connect with, Kathy, who does placental encapsulation, anything. And it's, I don't do that. I don't do this and I don't do that. So it's wonderful that I can provide my clients with these people who do those things. And then I don't feel like I have to do everything, So it's all about just kind of making opportunities for everybody and then allowing them to do whatever they want with that opportunity.
This is like Tribe Plus,
yes.
Because you have your tribal space here, but you're also using the bulletin board like the internet.
Yeah.
This is the oldest form of the internet, in fact, to connect with other people.
Yep.
So you don't have the insularity of a tribe. You have the expansiveness of a tribe through this.
Yes, and it isn't like my tribe's better than yours, or blah blah blah. There isn't that. It's just pure love and acceptance of strengths everywhere. I mean, even if I was a massage therapist and a doula, maybe I can't do Monday nights and she can. There's always some kind of gap to be filled, and we just need to stop vying for all of it and be like, hey, I'm actually not available at that time, but I know these 3 or 4 other massage therapists in town who are. Why don't you give one of them a call? And then, then she gets maybe a client out of that. And then that other client, maybe, they're not going to think negatively of me. They might not ever come back to me or whatever, but either way, I win. They think of me as somebody who connected them to that person. They're like, oh, I'm so grateful for that. Or maybe they will come back to me for a massage or for whatever. But now they know her too. So it's just beautiful. It's just constantly beautiful, and everybody wins. That's what I want, is everybody to win.
Well, that gives meaning to the phrase common unity, because you're pointing to the simple fact that everyone has to manage scarcity. We have scarce energy, scarce time, scarce commitments, and not one person cannot do everything. And so we need a community to fill in those gaps that we have in our own personal life. But then when you fill those gaps, that creates unity.
Right.
That you would otherwise not get.
This office space, and I would not myself, as a doula, who owns my own business, be able to afford to just have this space on my own. The reason that I can have it is because I'm willing to share it. you know, because I'm willing to pull in other people who also want to use it and who also want to contribute time and energy and money to paying the bills and whatnot. It makes it possible for me to have something because others are a part of it. So instead of being so us and them and bubbled up, you know, and everything, it's really just tapping into that intuition within us all, where I think we all do want to be connected. We all want to be supported. We all want opportunity, but we don't really know how to go about getting it.
So this is a version of the commons, in a sense, and this is really like a communal ownership. You're presenting here, where every single person has both a personal stake in it and a collective identity through it.
Right. And then that makes community succeed even more, because if I got somebody in here who's doing, say, even just one-time use, a workshop, they're going to speak about community. They're going to call people in here, and all those people might be new and may have never been exposed to this place, may have never been exposed to this, you know, and they may leave with many more resources than they thought that they came with, but the idea has spread, like, no matter what. And so it's just a constant bringing in traffic sort of thing from all these different elements. And they're all going to be out there putting it on Facebook, putting it on Twitter. Oh, I'm going to be here doing this workshop, blah, blah, blah. And so that just attracts. And so they're helping me out way more than helping me pay the bills. They're helping get people in here to see what we're doing and to possibly be the next part of that. Maybe one of those people that's at that workshop has an idea too, and they're like, oh, this space is available? Awesome. I really want to do this. And then we're like, cool, do it.
Well, you're helping them too, because by bringing someone into the common unity, you're enhancing them, giving them a sense of empowerment to do what they want to do.
Absolutely.
And then you're also activating a virus, because you are infecting other people with this goodwill to go and spread it to other people so they can replicate it and influence on a bigger scale.
Totally. And that's it. I mean, it's so hand in hand, and that's why it's like this. It's just every single part of it feeds another part. It's so beautiful, and I think that it's just going to naturally work because everybody needs it. And that's been the one big thing with my vision of the common unity, which I've had for 5 years, that everyone needs this. I don't know one person who cannot utilize the common unity, especially in its fullest vision. I just don't.
Well, everyone needs it, I think, because it's the very definition of life. You know, we all evolve, we all replicate, we all adapt, and, you know, you're a birth doula, so you're there at the very beginning of life, and so you know how life works, and what you're doing is using the space to help all of us evolve faster.
Right. Yep, and facilitate that, and really remove roadblocks. That's the other big thing for me. Is it was very hard for me to get to this point in my career, and the whole time I'm identifying these problems, you know, as I come across them, and thinking to myself, like we were talking about earlier, these millions of scenarios that we go through in our minds, or solutions, you know, and realizing, okay, what could we do to avoid that? Like, what could have been different? And so through the trouble that I went through to get to the point that I'm at now professionally, I learned a lot, and I can apply that now and try to hopefully like pave the way for other doulas. That's why I take on apprentices now, because I want them to have...
You take what?
Apprentices.
Okay.
I've built a practice now of, there's 5 of us total. So we have 5 birth doulas who work under Crowning Lotus, and I am a certified birth doula. I got certified through Doula. However, I lost a lot of faith in that process. Doula is a great organization. They're the oldest standing organization, but I really did kind of feel like it was like, take this workshop, read these books, and then go practice on some women. And I just don't feel like that's how it should be. I wanted
sort of too academic and one size fits all.
Yeah, very much. And there wasn't much of a sense of community. It wasn't like there were other Doula, you know, doulas and whatnot in the area, even like reaching out to me and saying, oh, hey, how are you doing? Is there anything I can help you with? As a matter of fact, it was very like, oh, well, now great, I have another person to compete with. You know, and I saw the need for, especially this kind of work, when you're talking about helping someone bring their child into the world, it's a very sacred thing. That's not something you can read about and understand. And you don't want to find out you're not a doula and your first practice birth, you know, because then that woman has been extremely disserviced. So I saw the need greatly to just take on apprentices, and I don't get paid for that. All I ask is that they work for me and they help me out through these births, and that they learn from me, and that in return, you know, they work under the name Crowning Lotus for a little while, and they do great things for women. That's all I want, is them to have a successful business. I don't get any percentage back of that or anything. but they helped me build that name of Crowning Lotus. You know, just by them being great doulas, because we all trained and worked together, we are setting the standard for what a doula should be. And we can reach so many more people now, because now there's 5 of us, and we all have the same philosophy, and we all work. We're not exactly the same, though. I mean, even in that little thing, I mean, there's strengths that I have that others don't, and therefore making, you know, each of us kind of a better doula for different people, you know. And it's all about what resonates with somebody, especially when you're talking about hiring a doula. You have to energetically vibe with that person. I mean, they're gonna see you naked and, you know, be going through this huge process with you. And I might not be that person, and I don't take that personally at all, because that's your sacred journey. It has nothing. I don't think that validates or invalidates me if you choose me or not. I want you to have who's right for you, and that's what makes me a good doula, is because I can accept that.
Well, I think the apprenticeship model is superior to the temp model and the internship model, because it usually is longer lasting. I mean, it's based in the medieval practice of the craft, craftsman, and you usually have an apprentice who trains to be a master, and it's not just a job, it's not just something to make money, it's something that they are, exactly, it's a pure expression of their being that then translates into a career where you're trying to be the best whatever you're training to be. And it's not just a career, it's a way of being in the community, a holistic understanding of your life's purpose. What we call a vocation, where you have your heart and your mind united together in the practice.
Right. And isn't that what we all should have? Like, we are all entitled to that. We should all feel that way about our job. You know, I think that for a long time I even struggled with making money at this because I loved it so much. And so you want to work from the heart, and you want to just give it away. And I would if I could. You know, if I could live off love, man, I would be a rich woman. But I have to pay bills too, and I realize that investment is important for some people to have even, you know, the successful birth that they need. When people aren't somewhat financially, or, you know, even if it's a trade or whatever, if they're not somewhat invested in their outcome of birth, then they usually don't get a very good outcome in birth. So I've found that it's actually more of a service to them to have them pay in some sort of way. But that was really difficult for me, and I struggled with that greatly, because I just love doing it. You know, I feel like I'm cheating the system a little bit, but I think that's what everybody deserves. Everybody should love to do what they do, and then they're going to do so much better at it. And I think with the apprenticeship, I mean, they're so much more willing to work very hard for me, because I'm just giving them this knowledge, and they know that. They know that I'm not getting anything out of it other than, you know, maybe building a successful practice, but I'm building it with them, not from them. You know, it's not that I'm taking from them. They're not taking from me, and I'm not taking from them. We're sharing. And I think that's definitely the trade-off right there. And I think that's the beauty of it all. You know, and that's why they're so loyal to Crowning Lotus. And none of them have left yet. So I think that it's definitely working, you know, and we all love it.
Well, one idea you might have to enhance this place is creating your own local currency system.
Yep.
Because, I mean, as I was talking about earlier, local currencies are making a comeback. They're a way to get out of the financial grid. And, you know, when you think about it, money, it's kind of like milk for the baby.
For sure.
Because, you know, it's necessary for the baby, but all babies grow on to have digestible food.
Absolutely.
And have all levels of, you know, the food pyramid, and we are kind of stuck at the infancy level with our currency.
Yeah, definitely.
So we need to have a much greater variety of tradable items that reflect our lived experience, and don't just force us to go to a bank and make a deposit and withdraw money to feed a fiat currency system.
Right.
So if you could just introduce trading systems here.
It's a huge part of what we do, actually. Like, even a couple of my apprentices who had babies since we started, you know, a couple of them are massage therapists. So I don't charge them for their doula services that they're going to get from me. Instead, mama gets massages, and I love it, you know, and that's something I could not, it's a luxury I would not otherwise be able to afford. But I do need it. I need that me time. I need to relax myself. And so it is such a beautiful trade-off when we can just, you know, hey, I do this, and let's just do a service for a service. And it's perfect. It's perfect that way. That's what I love. Actually, I prefer that so much more. Money's great, but it comes and goes. I think my biggest example of this is when I, a few years ago, really studied drawing in your perfect client, you know, really manifesting who is my perfect client, how do I draw those people in. And Karen Hayes, and you've interviewed her as well, and that's actually how you and I know each other. She found me because she needed a doula, and we were instantly like, shing, I love you, where have you been all my life? But she traded with me for my Reiki master. So I learned Reiki through her, got my master, and that will be with me for the rest of my life. Now, had she given me that $800 for the service that I provide, it would have been the same value. However, that $800 would have been good and gone by now. You know, it just never would, it just would have been one bill or two bills maybe, you know. That Reiki, though, serves me as a doula, will serve me, you know, it heals me, it heals my family, it heals the people that I'm around. It has changed my life so much. I mean, it's like the gift that keeps on giving. And so, you know, when I think of trade, I'm like, man, sometimes that just blows currency out of the water. I mean, big time. So we're always so open to that, you know, as long as we've got, everybody gets a fair deal. You know, that's like the big thing, is always making sure that it's fair. Because I've had some women who I have to encourage and be like, you know, so you're kind of getting a raw deal there. Like, yeah, that's a trade and everything, but it wasn't something you necessarily needed, or, you know, the value wasn't the same, you know, and we need to value ourselves enough to be able to accept the value of what we're worth, you know, and so it has to be an even trade as well, and I think that's important. But that's so good for people, because then they need to understand that they're worth it. And so when you're talking about trade, I think it's a beautiful thing that people can say, oh man, okay, I'm going to do this birth for you, and you're going to do 6 massages for me, like, awesome, you know, that's so great, but it's got to be 6. It wouldn't be just like, I'm going to give you a massage and you'll be my birth doula for potentially 12 or more hours, you know, that's not even. And I think that gives people a voice. It helps them to speak up a little bit more than they would maybe for money, you know, where maybe I feel like I'm worth $1,000 as a doula, but I charge $600, you know, because I feel like that's what I can get, you know, and we've got to realize what our worth is and be unafraid of asking for it, and realize that we're actually setting a good example for those around us when we do. It's good. It took me a long time.
Well, it does take a long time, because we're stuck in what I call consumerist capitalism after coming out of industrial capitalism. What you're doing is what I call spiritual capitalism, where you know, you talk about the perfect customer. So in industrial capitalism, the perfect customer was just someone who paid money for you know, the car or the chair or the TV. In consumer capitalism, is someone who pays money for a service, you know, like a legal service or a dental service, and that's it. It's just a transaction. But in neither of those models is there a relationship.
Right.
Now, ideally, you want to have a relationship, and they do cultivate relationships to some extent, but those are side effects of the actual transactional model.
Right.
What you're talking about here is making the relationship central. And having the transactional stuff derived from the relationship.
Right.
Where ideally you want to have people who say, I want to have a relationship with you. You're my great friend. You're one of my soulmates. And every transaction we have comes from that relationship.
Absolutely.
And then you just multiply those relationships around the community.
And then it never ends. I mean, it's just, you can't even measure it. You can't measure the value of it. I mean, even with just the Reiki, I mean, just even knowing Karen has been massive in my life. You know, I just love her so much, and so it's just become such a perfect example for me of value and of what all that means, and how, God, just the return on something like that never ends. Where if you got a transaction, you know, this is $10, you give me $10, okay, see you later. Like, we might have a friendly exchange, but there's nothing beyond that. It's kind of dead stopped right there. But when you have something like this and you're encouraged to come to this place for a workshop or for something like that, almost every single time you have built a connection with a stranger, with somebody that you didn't know before, and you leave with a new connection or a renewed sense of self even within the community. You start to see yourself differently. Totally. It is so impactful on all these different levels that I just kind of, my heart feels like, how can you go wrong? Like, this has to be right. And so I'm just going with it.
So we've already talked about the problems of fiat currency in the traditional banking model. So you're kind of introducing spiritual banking, where instead of putting your money into an account, even a sort of abstract account that's kept track of with a ledger in a bank, you're putting money into a person.
Absolutely.
You're treating that person as your bank account, and you're saying, I have much more pure intent with this because there's much more of a reward and there's much more of an interaction. And it's not just the interest rate you get with the bank, it's the entire relationship with that person's life, and also the ability to connect with other potential accounts.
I just want to change your life. No big deal. That's kind of what I'm always like. I'm like, I just want to change everything. Let's just do it, And I want people to feel healed and better and feel like they can go out and do the same thing I'm doing, because I'm no different than anybody else. I'm just motivated, I guess. But
and that's why it's called spiritual, because you're practicing the spiritual leadership model of having disciples. And in the old days, having disciples meant they would sit at your feet and they listen to you and absorb everything you say. But you're instituting a craft, a practice into the discipleship, and infusing the practice with spiritual meaning.
Yeah.
So that it's not just about listening and meditating; it's about doing.
Right.
And
incorporating into your life on a daily basis, not just when you're here.
Exactly. And that makes a person whole. So they're not just being spiritual when they're meditating or doing yoga or dancing. They're being spiritual when they're in service with other people.
When they're making everyday decisions, or when they're being mom later, and all of those things. Like, it's supposed to just become a living meditation.
Living meditation. It's like a living prayer.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I believe in that. I think that we can live yoga, we can live meditation. We don't have to necessarily, I think classes are good to get a basis if you struggle with that, but it really just becomes within, and it becomes who you are. It's not like, I'm going to set aside 6 to 7 to be a spiritual person. Like, no, you just are a spiritual person all day long. You can't not be. Even if you're living that way, it's not your true existence. You're not a spiritual person. You are, and it's just kind of opening up to accepting that. But we've been very taught that that's not important, and that that's not a priority, and that making money is a priority, and that all these structures that are in place right now. And so I really kind of feel like I'm just kind of opening a little door of perception for a lot of people. Just introducing the idea, and that alone is like, it just explodes from there, because a lot of people just it doesn't even come through, unless somebody's like, hey, you thought about it like this, or never tried this, or just some other way of thinking, and then immediately it's just blast doors wide open. I can see it in people's faces all the time, and it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. And then it stays open, whether I ever am in their life again or not, ever. It's a seed. I like to plant seeds everywhere.
Well, I think a lot of people are still stuck because we're coming out of what I can now coin the term capitalist spirituality. Because under the old system of capitalism, yes, you could pray, you could go to church, but only after your capitalist duties were finished. And they were separate parts of it. So every person has been a fragmented personality.
Right.
Because if
Turn this off for now because you're doing this.
Exactly. And that's because the system could not survive if we were whole.
No.
Because if we were whole, we would not accept the system as it is.
That is what breaks the system down. And actually, that's the whole that's how I started this path, is because I was an angry teenager who saw the system for how broken it was. I wanted to fight it. I raged against the machine for many, many years. And I finally started to realize that I needed to change my frequency, that I needed to make it more about love and about connecting these people and helping open doors to the average everyday person. I love connecting with people who already think like I do, but I really love connecting to that person who has never thought like that before. And I've just kind of always naturally been one of those people that people listen to me. Better know why. I'm kind of witty and I make people laugh and they like me whether they like it or not. So even very conservative religious people, they kind of hate that they like me, but they like me, and they're more willing to listen to me, I guess. And it's amazing to watch, it pries open these little doorways a little bit where it's like, okay, and then it comes back to that common ground. And then we found that, and then we build from there.
Actually, I've realized that we've been in a system where you agree with someone, then you like them. But the most powerful thing is you like someone, then you agree with them.
Right.
Because the liking comes first.
Yes.
And agreement is a logical process that follows the heart. So the liking is this holistic function. Exactly. It's an energy exchange.
I don't know why I'm attracted to you, but I am. I like you, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Exactly. And so what you're really doing is you're presenting yourself as a whole person. You're trying to make other people whole. And you're trying to create a holistic community where every single person is integrated within, and they have integrated relationships outside.
That's exactly.
And as a result, once you have that, you don't need the fragmented capitalist system anymore.
Exactly.
You've replaced it.
This is my way of creating peace. This is what I saw as the activism I could do that would actually do something. Because beating on a drum, walking down the road, talking about how pissed off about the war I was, just wasn't cutting it anymore. And I knew that it wasn't doing anything. It might be making me feel better in the moment, but it wasn't going to stop.
It's not sustainable.
It's not sustainable. And I needed to find something that was real and that could impact people on a daily basis in real life right now. And this just kind of is what came of that. First it was the doula stuff, and then it became more about women's work in general. And then it just became more about community at large. Just how should we all be, not only to ourselves, but to everybody else around us. You know, and it's got to be about self-love and then loving everybody, you know, regardless of difference. There's got to be just, all that's got to be set aside, because no matter what, no matter who you are, no matter how perfect you think you are, somebody disagrees with you, you know. And so trying to fit into that mold just doesn't work, and we exhaust ourselves trying to. And so it's cool to be able to get in there and be like, oh, who cares, you know. And people are just like, what? I cared for so long, you know. And I'm just like, be yourself, you know, you're good enough. I think that's what it really comes down to, is people just want to feel good enough and worthy of love and attention and success and support. And
people just need
we
just need affirmation.
Absolutely, because we've been taught since we're little kids differently, you know, and that
you're not good enough unless you get these good grades, unless you get a good job, unless you meet
if you don't fit in this box, then you're not good enough. And almost nobody fits in the box.
And so we're all cutting out slices of ourselves to fit in.
No one tells anybody is that no one fits in the box unless they've done that, and like you said, cut something out of themselves or changed themselves or conformed to fit into that. I always think of like a contortionist, you know, just trying to stuff themselves into this box, and it looks painful because it is. You don't have to. Who says? Who says? That's what I'm always like. I'm an Aries, you know, so I'm always like, do not tell me anything. As soon as you tell me what to do, I'm probably going to go on the other track and show you how it can be done differently. And I think that more people need that in them. They need to feel okay with being a rebel and thinking outside the box and being different and not fitting in. It's like, what are you trying to fit into?
Well, there are three terms. One's being a rebel, the other's being a revolutionary, then there's being an evolutionary. Because when you're a rebel, you just say no. And that's not quite viable. When you're revolutionary, you're replacing the old system, which you don't like, which you say no to, with a new system that you can say yes to, which either you created or someone else has created that you believe in. When you're evolutionary, you have a system that... Okay,
I get really excited talking about this stuff.
Well, it's fun talking to you about this stuff. So, what else do we have here? You do actually have different areas of this place that you've designated.
Like a communal kind of like board area, and then we have like our little coffee station. So there's always water and whatnot available. We're trying to get out of the plastic bottles, but we need to get like a container because we have no sink here. But we do like a lot of potlucks and all kinds of different things. Everybody brings in little things and adds and shares. It's beautiful. A lot of times I'll set up like my jewelry and whatnot right here. Actually, I'm going to put in a big shelving system, I think, right here, so that way we can have product from people who have different art or anything to share and be able to sell that here and connect people with different things that are available to them. And then over here, this is our little like lending library area. So all of these books can be taken out by anybody who has interest. So I usually tell my clients or whatnot, go over there if anything piques your interest, feel free to check it out. And they just sign it out, and it's just an honor system of, when you're done, bring it back, please. But we try to leave out a lot of examples of different things too, like we've got diva cups and whatnot, where a lot of women aren't aware of their menstruation options, which is a big thing with women. So I like to have samples from different companies like Diva Cups, so that way women can see firsthand that this is actually available, and then it starts conversation. You know, women are like, what the heck is this?
Yeah.
And then I can explain to them, and they're like, I never knew that there was anything but pads or tampons. And so that's right there could be revolutionary in their whole lives. I mean, when you have women who have hysterectomies at 20, 21 all the time right now because of problems in that area, getting away from pads or tampons could mean a lot to them.
Yeah.
So
it's quality of life
trying
difference.
to constantly just throw out all this stuff that's like, hey, you know, try this, check this out, making people aware. That's the big thing. Make them aware so that way they know what's going on.
So you're providing a free education right there.
Free education, absolutely. This is our consult room. This is where I do a lot of my meetings with parents and whatnot, and I like it because it's so bright and vibrant. I think we're going to try to get some people, like some local artists and whatnot, and start featuring artwork as well in these rooms. So, and then if they sell anything, we'll just kind of keep like a small commission or whatever, but really just trying to get their name out there and then have cool stuff on our walls too. But yeah, we do lots of things in here. Sometimes I'll do henna in here.
No, henna is the color of your hair, right?
No, actually it's like the artwork here.
Oh.
So like
oh.
the paste.
Oh, I see.
Kind of looks
okay.
crappy right now, so not the best example. But yeah, so I'm a henna artist as well, and we'll do parties in here, and sometimes do like tarot readings or you know, crystal stuff or just whatever we want. This is like a nice little intimate kind of chill spot, which I really like, and we keep the plants.
You have Tibetan flags there as well.
Yeah, Tibetan flags. That was actually given to me by a client of mine, and she got those on vacation over there, so they're totally authentic, and they were a beautiful gift from her. And then that's my belly right there. So we
What do you mean that's your belly?
That's me. That's my cast. That was when I was.
Oh, when you were
sick.
pregnant?
Yep, when I was pregnant. And so that's kind of nice, just to have something three-dimensional, and you know, it just definitely kind of keeps that sacred feminine, birthy, kind of just goddessy feel that I love. I like to bring that in and make everybody feel like sacred. I don't know, I want to restore sacredness in people. It seems like that's an element that's really missing in society right now. So I like to put that up there and make people remember a little bit about how beautiful the female form is and how we create life and how awesome that is. I mean, it's pretty sweet.
Do you have a massage area over here?
Actually, our massage area, this is just for restoring one of our little buddies, but we have a massage room. So any massage therapist, or we have people who do Reiki, they can all come in here and set up their table. And sometimes we set up candles and crystals and whatnot in here, but this is just we keep it pretty empty so that way they can fill it with whatever they want. A lot of times there's a massage table in here, diagonal, or they'll put in the chair one. This is a nice, like, quieter, kind of intimate setting. So we're really happy with that. I do wish it was like maybe a foot bigger, but it'll work. Does the job, that's for sure. And then we've got, this is just one kind of bigger office. It's also kind of in transition. I would like, ideally, to turn this into more of a workspace. So I envision some longer tables and whatnot, with possibly like keeping my sewing machine here, keeping a couple of elements. So if other women wanted to come and say sew or do beadwork or do something like that, there might be some tools just available to them. And then just keeping maybe a desk in here so that way we can still have, you know, computer time or whatever they need to do, but really just kind of keeping consults and stuff like that over in the other room, and then making this much more of a functional area where we can actually get work done, because I like to get work done. So yeah, we're going through a lot of changes, but I think it's going to be so amazing, and I could pee myself. I'm so excited.
Well, this is your dream that you've had for...
Yeah.
How long have you had this dream?
Well, I've had the dream for about 5 years, and I've had this space for about 6 months, and I didn't even realize it already was the common unity. You know, we were already using it as a communal space. Currently, this spot is even like, you know, by a midwife uses this office primarily. and a massage therapist works out of there. I usually work out of the consult room. A lot of us use that area for different things, so it was already very communal. We were already doing it. I think because I almost lost it, because we had a couple people back out and whatnot, it really made me realize it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, why don't we just call this the common unity? And then I really felt like, even just by calling it the common unity, just by a name change alone, it puts energy into common unity. It makes that dream more of a reality. It turns this into a seed for something.
Well, naming is an act of creation right there,
Absolutely.
just like birth.
Absolutely. And it literally, ever since we've done that, it's just been, people have been coming out of the woodworks ready to come in here, wanting to do stuff. I mean, that didn't even know that I was making this change. So it seems like the universe is really validating everything that we're wanting to do here. And I can't even express like how excited I am, because I feel like, I don't know, I think I saw it as such a big vision that I didn't understand how it was going to happen. And so because it felt like such a huge dream, I thought it was going to be very hard. Every single time I did anything where I was asking the universe for energy, I just kept saying, if you make it really easy, I will do it. So I just put that out there. I constantly wanted the universe to know that I want to do this. I am so willing to work my butt off for it. Just make it really easy. Just somebody hand me a building, somebody hand me something, and I will do amazing things with it. And now I've kind of realized that it's in the palm of my hand. And now that I'm seeing it for what it is, I'm so excited to see what the next 6 months to a year brings us. I mean, as we're sitting here talking, this is just now in the transition. I mean, I still need to sign the lease even to get it switched over and make common unity like a legal thing and all that stuff, and it's happening right now, and I'm just like, oh, how do we get here? And I just kind of looked up and I was here. So that's really cool, like when it just falls into place. That's what I asked for. I asked for easy, and I got it. So I'm pretty happy about that. Hopefully the next step is just as easy. Hopefully somebody does just kind of give us a building, or something just falls into place for us. But I really think that it will, because this is such a needed thing that I think that the universe will just support it and help me make it happen. It's my hope and goal anyways. I'm a hard worker, but I'm not a numbers girl. So I get nervous about the numbers stuff. And so I'm down for doing as much work and carrying as much water as I need to. And I try to carry the water every day for this idea somehow. Do something every day for your dream. And I think that that's why I'm here. I really do.
Yeah, it's like that Zen phrase, before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water.
Exactly. It never ends. You're always going to have to do the work. If you want it bad enough, especially, but you got to do it every day, even if it seems like something really small, just putting that little piece of energy into it.
Well, I don't call it work, I call it exercise.
I like
because
that.
What you're doing is you are using your focus and your sustained concentration to improve yourself inside, which then translates into everything outside.
Yeah, I like that. I'm not afraid of work, though, either. I don't think it's necessarily, I guess, like many words, it's dependent on the context of how you're using it.
Well, work is, again, a product of the capital system.
True.
It's something that you don't enjoy because it makes money and it's hard. But what exercise is, it gives you an incentive to find ways to make it efficient and innovate.
I like it.
So all you have to do is figure out ways to do it but better and easier.
Work smarter, not
Work
harder.
smarter, exactly.
That's what I'm all about. Ask my kids. So I tell them that I think every day.
Exactly.
Yep. So yeah, that's pretty much what we're doing here, and I'm really excited about it. I think that we have 4 or 5 people right now that are in here doing different things, different aspects of stuff, which I think is great. And we've got more people showing up all the time. I had a woman the other day who does angel readings and works for Hay House Publishing. So she's going to have a lot of things going on in here. Another one who's another massage therapist that also does Reiki, so who can fill in the gaps for when Danielle, who already does those things here, can't be here. So we're really... It's coming together. It's coming together really quickly, too. So it's crazy.
Wonderful. Well, I'll check back with you in a year and see where everything is.
You should. Grand Rapids would welcome you with open arms, I'm sure.
Excellent.
Awesome.